Making videos on YouTube can be kind of a solitary endeavor, and I'm always thrilled to discover new creators focusing on the double bass. I've covered several channels in the past, which I will link up to here, but I've got 3 creators to talk about today, so definitely check out their channel and what they're doing, give them a follow, and if you like what's happening here, you'll probably like these channels. First up is Learn Jazz Bass with Matt Rybicki. Oh my goodness, what great work Matt is doing over here. Matt taught at Juilliard for many years, and now he's dove into, whatever the word is, YouTube with weekly videos, and I just love what he's doing. The quality of it just all around is so superb. And I love the tone he gets. I sat down with Matt to do an interview for my podcast recently, and he talked about how he got into YouTube and what got him inspired, and also just how the process works for him. I always find that interesting when I get to chat with another creator.
I did make a general list of things to try to get a head start on. But once I started to do it, I found pretty quickly folks were saying really smart things in the comments and asking really smart questions that made me go to the next to change my plan. I wish that I were further ahead, and I'm not. So no, I don't have a big plan. I am trying to keep it, as I think you do as well, trying to keep variety to appeal to different folks, and at the same time, keep a thread of something. Like, I don't know how interested people are in this idea of what I call essential bass lines, these special bass parts I think all of us should know. Like, I hit that periodically to try to keep sort of a string going, but not do them all once in a row because not everybody's interested in that.
Yeah. Okay, let's check out more of this. And there are PDFs to go along with these various videos. He's really covering a great array of topics. Look at that beautiful left-hand position. And I love what a classier approach Matt takes to YouTube. I am almost always wearing a t-shirt. Oh, this is a great t-shirt. Pete's Upright Bass Shop in Portland, Oregon. But just everything about this is top-notch. Matt's wife is a photographer. We talk about that in the interview, which may or may not be out when this video comes out. Probably will be out. But so if you're wondering, you don't necessarily have to have this high fidelity of a camera situation going forward. But of course, that is always fun and helpful.
It was probably different than what you were used to hearing on a solo. And maybe it was even slightly awkward, but you certainly did pay attention, I would imagine. And you couldn't really predict what I was going to do, which is kind of a good thing if you want people to listen to you.
Yeah.
So this pretty much demonstrates the very simple concept of what I'm talking about is so great about this one idea in soloing, and that is the concept of resting and taking a break.
I definitely have the problem of just never taking a break and playing way too many notes when I'm taking a jazz solo, which is rare these days. I think part of why I do that is my discomfort with doing that, but I just love how clearly Matt articulates these different messages that he has in these videos.
Yes, it could feel awkward to do, but when we are able to learn how to sit in that silence comfortably, it's very, very powerful. It doesn't have to be these long pauses that I did necessarily, and we'll get into that a little more. But I just wanted to illustrate and kind of get your attention right from the beginning. Having silence and having breaks has a lot of benefits. One is that we're able to think about what we just played and plan and think about what we'll play next.
And you can just tell what a great teacher is. But one very simple thing that as someone who makes a lot of video, I notice is look at how few cuts there are. I am constantly screwing up in this channel and I have no problem with jump cuts, but he's just rattling these off right off the top of his head. Very minimal notes as we talked about in our podcast. And just what an outstanding educator, and how cool to turn your focus to this platform that scales, that you can communicate with so many people. Anybody who's taught private lessons knows that that's great, but this one-on-one communication, it just doesn't scale like something like YouTube. So to get these out into the world and talk about soloing, which I've talked about a little bit on this channel, I'll link up to something. If you haven't figured out, I'm not much of a jazz player, but if you like what happens on Double Bass HQ, definitely check out what Matt's doing on YouTube. We'll take a look at his channel just to give you an idea. Again, he just launched so classy right from the very beginning, and all sorts of different topics. I love everything about it. From the nerdy YouTube stuff like thumbnails, I think he does a great job with that. Look at how many different topics and just what first class work this is. I love it. Now let's go from jazz to the world of bluegrass, and I just love Ann Luna's channel. She started this channel fairly recently, but she did a couple of videos that got a lot of views, and we talked about that in a recent interview.
Bluegrass Unlimited invited me to do a couple lessons for their channel on just, because they were doing like, quick little lessons under 15 minutes. And so I got to do a couple of those for them, which was really great. And then, I've been, teaching at different camps for several years and teach primarily kind of bluegrass Americana things and for kind of beginner, intermediate bass players. And it seems like there's quite a bit of stuff there for more advanced players, and great stuff like on Discover Double Bass, and those courses that I've been taking too. Or there's things in classical and jazz world, but seems like there was kind of limited information that I was finding or that my students were finding in kind of the bluegrass Americana world, because I think a lot of it is like, oh yeah, you just play the root and fifth and you're good, which is, you can get a gig with that. But, so I was, kind of talking with one of my students, who's been a student for about 10 years and, saying, I've been wanting to do these little, short, lessons. And I was thinking about calling them bass bites. Do you think that's a stupid idea? And she's like, I think it's great. So I kind of I had this idea last fall, and then finally in December was like, I'm going to start putting out a video every week and just kind of see what happens. And I've got a more, a better response than I thought I might, which has been very cool. And to keep this lesson under 10 minutes. So let's get to it.
Yeah, I should probably take a cue, and my stuff always ends up being 20 minutes or more if I'm not careful.
So looking at
Great sound.
For me, I'm a right-handed player, so what my left hand that's up on the fretboard and the neck is actually doing when I play. Whenever I'm teaching folks, like mostly how to use their pinky and this efficient left hand position where you have half steps between your index and middle and your middle and your pinky, and this ring finger that gets used as you go up the neck, and your imaginary frets would get closer together.
I love her delivery. If you haven't noticed, tend to talk way faster than, I'm kind of a fast talker anyway, but as soon as you turn a camera on, I sound like I'm on 9 cups of coffee or possibly some other stimulants. And I'm just enjoying this wonderful, confident delivery. And it's just so interesting to hear teachers describe these different concepts and things that I might know or might have described in a certain way, but I learned so much from watching another teacher with a lot of experience teach.
So what I want to have you take a look at is what my thumb actually does. Is the whole idea that I want to get across is to be able to have a flexible, movable hand.
This is a concept similar to what Joel Quarrington gets into in his Canadian School of Double Bass. I'm connecting with Joel. We both have schedules that are challenging to align. So I've actually filmed kind of part of a video about that. I have all of his books. They're absolutely wonderful. And we're going to sit down and have him explain it. But this concept of flexible hands and for Joel, wrists, that's what that's all about. And it's something I have to continually remind myself. Today, as I was practicing, getting ready for a week with the symphony, I'm just like connecting with my bow hand and making sure that everything really is, and just my whole bow arm really, making sure that my wrist and my fingers stay flexible, and that's true for the left hand as well.
Okay, so we're getting where you can see, hopefully, what my left hand is actually doing.
See, and this is great, and she's going to go through and explain this. I'm not going to play her whole video. Just go watch. I will link up to this, obviously, in the description. You can see that her hand looks great, looks natural. Her hands, like Paul Ellison, the great bass teacher, likes to say, her hands look like her hands. They're not really distorting in any sort of weird way. And there is a range that the thumb is going between this frame of 1 and 4, but it's actually quite relaxed. And you can see the weight's not really resting on her thumb particularly. Yeah. Yeah, so she's keeping up this weekly pace too, just like Matt, and has some great live performances in here. If you go back a little bit, just a great player and a super fun channel. Next, we have Jacob Warren, and I actually have had Jacob on this YouTube channel, but not about his YouTube channel in particular. It was about this wonderful Debussy sonata that he made a version of for double bass and piano. I will link up to that here. But Jacob has been doing great work, putting out wonderful educational YouTube content, and he's got this very cool series on chopping. Now, Jacob has a strong background in audio-visual recording. That's a side gig that he does as well, and really nice cameras and audio. And so he's been doing this kind of work for other people, and it's really cool to see him turn and put out this kind of content with his amazing skill, and just love it.
I have this video series about chopping, which is a percussive technique on string instruments. And I basically went down into like the basement, which is I'm using as my recording studio, and had a plan about what I wanted to talk about, but just kind of let myself go. And I totally realized so much from that first experience of, like you said, getting back and like looking at not only the playing, but the speaking, and like having to go through that process of being like, wow, there are so many things that I say that I need to cut out. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. But yeah, with the playing too. And I've recently been getting into kind of layering some things as a practice technique. I just got a looper pedal, which I'm very excited about. And you learn so much about your lack of time and your lack of intonation and all that stuff. It's amazing having these tools and that I've had these tools and haven't used them to their fullest potential yet. It's very exciting.
My name is Jacob Warren. Welcome to this quick video on chopping for the double bass.
Like that, everybody keeps it quick, but Jason. So sorry about that. Maybe I should try to keep it shorter.
Chopping is a percussive bow technique where rather than playing the string horizontally for pitch notes, we're instead going to use the bow vertically to get percussive sounds as well. Sounds something like this.
Oh, I love that type of playing so much. It reminds me of Olivier Babaz, who has a whole course on jazz bowing on Discover Double Bass. I had him on the channel here, so I'll link up to something Olivier related. But I just absolutely love that sound. And every time I watch something about chopping, it makes me want to explore more. I just absolutely dig the sound that Jacob's getting here.
It's a very useful technique when you're trying to back up another musician and provide both harmony and some rhythm to accompany them. In this lesson, we're going to go over how to make the basic chop stroke. And what we're looking for with this stroke is for it to sound like a hit on a snare drum, nice and clean and clear, like that. So this is going to be a little different depending on if you play French or German bow. For French bow, we're taught that we want to keep a nice rounded thumb at all times to keep the hair nice and flat on the string. The first thing you're going to need to do is actually straighten out your thumb. You'll see that relative to the bass, what this does is it actually curves the hair or points the hair down towards the floor rather than keeping it nice and flat.
Oh, interesting.
For German bow, this rotation is actually going to need to come from the wrist. Now, when making the chop stroke, there are three main components: the attack, the skate, and the eventual stop. Now, The attack needs to go in towards the bass with the hair pointed towards the floor. And if we hit it hard enough, it'll actually force the bow, given that the hair is angled, to skate down just a little bit. And then there will be so much force that eventually friction will stop it.
Oh, I love it. I love that he's got those mics up so you can really hear that sound. So cool. I've had a blast getting to know Jacob over the years. I first connected with him at the Wah Bass Institute, and I think that was summer of 2021. So it's been a few years. I did a video, and Jacob had a segment in it, so I will link up to that. But just what a wonderful artist. He won the 2023 International Society of Bassists competition. The main piece of that recital, kind of the centerpiece, was that Debussy Sonata that I was mentioning and that we featured on the channel. So definitely check out what Jacob's doing. Give him a follow here on YouTube, but also on other platforms. And I can't wait to see what he does in the future. And then taking a look at his channel, he's got a nice rhythm. At least every month or so, he's got something coming out. And then this whole series on chopping, 8 videos, I believe. And then he explores harp harmonics, which are a fascinating thing to learn about on the double bass. If you dug this video, check out what we've got linked up, and we'll see you in the next one.